Joe lied, babies died. I can say that confidently at this point. I've been able to say it about every U.S. president in my lifetime, whether that be Bill Clinton, Old W, uh, um, Barry Sutro or Barry Satoro, better known as Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and now Joe Biden. They've all lied, and under every one of them, babies have died. Although I guess we're a little bit on the edge here in this case of Biden. This drone strike in Kabul that we were told was supposed to take out, ISIS-K, and I'm saying that in air quotes. Gosh, it's been so long I didn't even have time to talk about ISIS-K. I about, spit my drink out when I first heard them say this last week. Oh, ISIS-K, ISIS-K. Very scary. Because I remember a few years ago sitting in an alehouse and watching, I think it was Brett Baer on Fox they had on, and I was reading the closed captioning. He was talking about, the Khorasan group, very scary. This Khorasan group, the U.S. is very concerned about it. We can't leave Afghanistan because the Khorasan group is taking over, and they're going to wage terror attacks. And I thought, what the heck is this? Is a Khorasan group? And then a couple weeks later, they just stopped talking about it. Went away forever. And I never really figured out why that was. My best guess is that it was just some excuse that the media was trying to come up with because maybe there was some interest in leaving Afghanistan at the time. And then it just went away. Just like everything. Just like when they say, oh my gosh, we can't abandon the Kurds in Syria. Assad is going to massacre them. We have to go into Syria. We have to invade. And then as soon as that situation's over and, we didn't end up invading Syria much. We kind of did. I should say we didn't withdraw all the troops. It was kind of a stalemate politically. But of course, nothing ever really happened to the Kurds. It was a bunch of nonsense. It was just warmongering. And even people like Noam Chomsky fell for it. And so I thought it was hilarious that they literally call the group now ISIS-K. Like they just took the Khorasan group and slapped ISIS onto the front of it to make them sound more relevant. And so it's another one of these ghost terrorist organizations that they can bring out as a boogeyman because they have to blame it on somebody other than the Taliban because, of course, politically it would be a little difficult to say that the Taliban blew up a bunch of American soldiers when we're still supposed to be operating under the framework of this peace deal. Please forgive. You guys can probably hear that chainsaw outside. There's nothing I can do about that. I guess a neighbor's chopping something up. But heck, what am I doing rambling 3 minutes in, and I haven't even gotten to the point. This drone strike in Kabul supposedly was taking out ISIS-K. Joe was very concerned about ISIS-K, this group that I'm not entirely confident even exists. We're told that they carried out a suicide bombing against American soldiers and a bunch of civilians. I think over 100 civilians were killed in the bombing, and something like 13 Marines or so. And they were going to carry out another bombing, we're told, but that was stopped yesterday, dead in its tracks, by Uncle Joe, who made the decision, you know what, no, we're going to bomb their car on the way to the airport, and they're not going to be able to get there. And now, lo and behold, we find out that, in fact, it doesn't appear that that car was being driven by two suicide bombers. It appears that the car was being driven by a father who had a couple of his kids in the back. In fact, he wasn't even driving at the time. It seems he was parked at his house, and the rest of the family was, around there near so much so that when the car was blown up, not only did the father and his two kids, get blown to pieces, but so did the rest of the family in the house or around there on the property, because 10 of them are now dead. 6 kids dead at the hands of Joseph Robinette Biden. And this, I hope this story gains a lot of traction, because this is the reality of the U.S. war in Afghanistan. This is what staying in Afghanistan means. This is what being in Afghanistan has meant every day for the last 20 years. Every day for the last 20 years. The U.S. says, we're going to blow up some terrorists. We're going to launch an airstrike. And, they end up killing over double-digit numbers of civilians in every airstrike. innocent women and children, and even innocent men. And at the end of the day, they say mission accomplished. Some dweeb back in, I don't know, probably Tampa, like at McDill or something, he's driving his drone while snacking on a Big Mac that somebody just picked up for him. And he goes, you know what? Oh, I got him. I blew up that car. I blew up that family picnic. I blew up that wedding. Mission accomplished for the day. I'm going to go home and pick my nose. The generals pat each other off, on the back, and they say, we got more terrorists off the streets. Even if we killed, some children along the way, well, those kids would have grown up to be terrorists. When in reality, when you blow up a bunch of innocent people, what you end up doing is turning their surviving relatives, their friends, their neighbors, you turn them into terrorists. And is it really terror if it's in self-defense? I mean, these people have the choice. Hey, I can either be blown up trying to ally myself with the Americans and being a good little puppet, or I can die trying to resist them. It's very easy to understand why there would be so many people now who are willing to join the Taliban when you see stuff like this. Even people who are not ethnic Pashtuns, although I'm not totally convinced. I still don't think it's a huge. I still wouldn't call it the Taliban a multi-ethnic movement or something like that. But you can understand why people would join the Taliban when you see stuff like this. It's infuriating. Imagine if this was your family. Are you still going to stand by the side of the Americans? Say what you will about the Taliban, but they're not flying drones around and bombing random innocent people. The Taliban does terrible things to innocent people too, yeah. But this is a different kind of terror. I forget who it was. Maybe Max Blumenthal, but don't quote me on that. On Twitter made a comment about Obama that under Obama, and this is true, I would think of Trump and Biden as well to a certain, to varying extents. There's entire generations of children that grew up in the Middle East terrified of a sunny day with clear blue skies, because they knew that those were the days when the drones were out prowling and they could be killed with zero notice, never see it coming, never know that they're about to die, and just be dead the next second because there's a blue sky out. That's why they liked, cloudy, rainy days. There's more clouds in the sky. The drones, probably won't be flying. It's less visibility. But on a clear blue sky, total perfect visibility, that's when they're out prowling, looking for victims. Hell, they're called like Reaper drones and Predator drones, aren't they? I mean, it's they're not hiding the ball. It's very clear what the purpose of these devices are. And this is the kind of stuff that went on every day in Afghanistan. You can, this is in addition to all the people who were murdered by the Taliban, you had the U.S. Murdering innocent people as well, probably in greater numbers, or at least at any given time, any given event in which the U.S. carried out action against civilians who they accused of being terrorists, and a lot of times they would blow up the wrong house entirely, and then still go backwards and claim, oh, well, those were terrorists. Like, I believe the U.S. blew up a school bus in Yemen a couple years back, if I remember correctly. I think I covered it at the time. And the U.S., they always try and lie and say, oh, we got the terrorists, yay, let's pat ourselves on the back. The Pentagon issues a press release, hey, we bombed some terrorists. And then people who are on the ground post pictures and say, hey, isn't this a school bus? Aren't these a bunch of dead kids? Where's the bomb-making material? Where's the bombs? Where are the bombers? Oh, were you saying that the bus driver was a bomber and all the kids were his bombs? And the sad thing is that this was Joe Biden's attempt at a good PR moment, because he's saying, hey, I look weak, I'm not doing anything, a bunch of Americans just got blown up, so I got to go kill people to make sure I look tough. Because, remember, when Trump was in office, what was the one time the media praised him? It was when he went and bombed Syria, because he looked tough finally. Oh, he's not weak, he's standing up to Putin, although I don't think they give him that much credit. But this is the same thing Joe Biden's trying to do. He's saying, well, presidents get praised when they blow things up. Presidents, who weren't wartime presidents aren't remembered as being great. Who are the great presidents remembered as? It's George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, FDR, and I guess Ronald Reagan to a certain extent, although it's a different kind. Cold War is not quite the same analogy. And so Joe has to prove he's tough, so he has to blow up a bunch of kids. But, I guess I have to give some credit to the Pentagon under Joe Biden, in that John Kirby was asked about this today. Normally, the Pentagon just always flatly denies it, because, this stuff never gets much coverage. The Pentagon has gotten used to murdering and massacring civilians for decades now. They can just blow anybody up anywhere in the world and never be held accountable for it. And today, when John Kirby was asked about it, he basically said, well, we can't deny that. Or we're not in a position to dispute those reports that, we bombed a family with young kids. I believe the youngest kid was 2 years old, according to, I think it was her uncle. If stuff like this gets reported more regularly, even in this case, maybe it'll wake a few people up and make them realize, gee, maybe this is why there are people all around the world who hate the United States and want to do harm to the United States because they've been wronged, because they have, well, more than wronged, they have suffered irreparable harm. They've had their friends and their family taken from them. They've had their lives destroyed for nothing, for no rhyme or reason. That's what's so terrifying. That's why the Pentagon is the world's fiercest and largest and most well-funded terrorist organization on the planet. That's what they do. They terrorize people. There's no other word to describe this. This father, when he was getting into the car with his 2 kids and and the rest of his family there, they had no reason to believe, seemingly, that they were about to be blown up. And again, I guess you could say, well, there's a chance that maybe he was a terrorist and his kids were cut, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure, there's always that chance. But 99.9% of the time, when the Pentagon says they're blowing up terrorists and we find out, oh, wait, they actually just blew up a family, on their way to soccer practice, it turns out that, the Pentagon was just lying. It's not that it was an overly complicated story. It's that these guys just don't care about what they're doing. They kill and they maim innocent people all the time for a living, and then they give themselves awards for it. They give themselves promotions. Remember, what did Lloyd Austin, the current Secretary of Defense, what did he do after he retired from the military? Oh, right. He was on the board of Raytheon. What does Raytheon do? They make bombs. So, if you're only bombing, legitimate terrorists or whatever, you're only going to need so many bombs. And in order for the bomb makers to make a lot of money, they got to find more and more people to bomb. They got to kill more and more families. They have to slaughter more and more children. And it's because there just simply aren't enough terrorists. That, and it's too difficult to find, real good targets for this sort of stuff. The so-called intelligence community, they spend all their time trying to find meme smiths on Twitter and on 4chan, and say, hey, who made this impolite meme making fun of Joe Biden eating ice cream? This is sedition. This person could be inspiring insurrection. We need to hunt them down and go knock on their door and say, you, sir, did you make this meme? And so as a result, when it comes to trying to select targets for bombing terrorists, all that it takes really is a denunciation by a known patriot, to borrow a phrase from the French Revolution. Somebody says, hey, a terrorist lives in that house. That's good enough for the U.S. military to go drop a bomb on that house and kill everybody living inside. So this is by far, to me, the most important thing going on with Afghanistan right now. As soon as this happened, it became the most important part of the story. Not to mention, of course, all the innocent people who were killed by the suicide bomber. Many more innocent people killed by the suicide bomber on, Thursday. Now a lot of people are dying. And we know that for a fact. It's not just rumors. It's not just pictures popping up online. There are dead bodies here, or pieces of dead bodies. But with that said, I will continue to discuss the broader implications of this whole Afghanistan debacle as it continues to unwind. I've missed a few days, so there's a lot of stuff to get caught up on. So with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.